what can you do?
Failed to go live. Please try again.
Well, don't worry. It's funny that was what it was saying in my previous one, and actually it did go live, and I don't know if it recorded. And anyway,
okay,
so
there's to me live. Great stuff.
Yeah, so just we'll leave it and see. Yes, cool. Yeah, so if you sorry, there's a lot of incoming information there. Have you had a chance to absorb and reflect?
All right, so yeah, I had a look at what Raoul's comments were, and they make sense. I think it's one of those things that we discussed in boot camp when testing it. It's something that will come with age, like good wine.
Or just repeated practice. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
It's just there's so many things going on.
It's like, so writing stories and testing is not my strongest point, because I never know where to start or if I'm on the right track. So
yes.
So his comments made more sense now.
Oh, good.
So just from my side, I just quickly want to go to the Git. Let me share my screen, I suppose.
Sure, yes.
Good start. Share screen. Okay. So good. So his comments, where were they? They made a lot of sense, because I was testing the wrong thing. Where you said that I had hard coded it in where I should be testing the title. So that's fine. I will change that. Then I didn't see yours here.
Yeah, so what I did was what I was discussing doing yesterday, which is basically I pulled down your code and kind of just sort of went through doing some sort of like moving and things, and then sort of pushed it back up into a fresh branch so that you could kind of see that in the same place, and it wouldn't kind of conflict with you in the issue that we had last week. I actually sort of fixed the point that Raoul made in that code base there, and I also expanded upon, I think, an issue that Johnny touched on. But yeah, I realize just to go back to your earlier point about the testing and the scenarios, I think it's just, it's in like the amount of things that you have to keep in your head as a developer. It's just insane. It is really completely insane. And the funny thing is, though, is that yes, just after doing it repeatedly, it starts to gradually become more manageable. And yeah, so absolutely no worries. I think huge kudos for you for getting this done, getting it out there. We've got something very valuable for the site there that could be merged in straight away, and it's just a question of we want to get you to get the most out of the experience as possible, so that you can keep on improving.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. Just one thing though, in terms of the site can still be a lot better in SEO. But I think it's more content that needs to come from the client side.
Sure.
Because their content is very weak on their site in terms of the about us. So maybe they've got a mission statement, maybe they've got a value proposition.
Sure.
Just to put there, just so that there's more stuff to index.
Okay.
I know that we are indexing all the NGOs that are out there, which is great. But we've just got to monitor it, and it's going to take about 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I'll keep looking at the Google Analytics and see what's happening.
Yeah, well, if there are things that you need that, like we can sort of press the client for in terms of more of a mission statement and so on, do add a ticket to Pivotal Tracker, and I can then make sure that comes up in the agenda. If they're sort of, or even within the existing SEO ticket, you can put like a task in there that says, need more input from client on X, Y, Z, and then that I'll make sure to remember to talk to the client about it.
Okay, perfect, great. So then just from my side, then I'm going to pull down your new branch and then have a look at it.
Yes.
And then the next steps from there.
Yes. Well, so there's different ways to go there. I mean, you can use the branch that I've put up. You can use that as a reference, just to see what, you know, how I did certain things, and then you may want for your own learning benefit to say, oh, you know, I kind of like what he did there, I didn't like what he did there, and pick and choose the bits that you pull out and you put in your own pull request. Another way to go, and it all depends upon, you know, where you are in the stack of everything, is kind of like, you know, you could say, oh, well, that kind of makes sense, and then you could just build on top of my pull request with some more things, and which I wonder if you might, you could merge them into your pull requests, which well, I've only done merges, so it should be relatively painless to pull that straight into yours. But again, this is the constant battle, and it's working out how much challenge you want to take. And I think you know, I think whatever best supports your learning process is fine, really.
Okay, all right. Okay, well, just let me have a look. I'm going to go through your code on GitHub and just see what the changes are.
Yes.
And then I'll make the decision from there.
Sure. I mean, I'm happy. I've got a moment now. If you'd like, if it would be helpful for me to talk through what I did as a way to, and then you can ask, rather than the sort of slower asking of questions through whatchamacallit. Let me just share my desktop. What I did. Oh, that's interesting. Where are we going? What I did was I pulled down your branch and I made a copy of it locally on my machine. So if I find my local support thing there, so I pulled down your branch, and then I'm looking at somebody else's one. But this is this branch here. This was basically a clone of your branch, and I've pushed that back up onto the main local support repo and pushed in a few more commits. And I was using RubyMine to see kind of like similar to the view that you get on GitHub, the differences, you know, in the two things. And I kind of went through them each in turn. And the main thing that I did here in the organizations controller was I pulled out this, the setting of the meta tags into a private method there.
Okay, great.
And that was, as I think I mentioned before, just to, you know, this is already a bit too long, the show method. I mean, it's highly, you know, it's built up with lots of things. It needs refactoring. That's not your concern, because that's the code that you're encountering. But I just thought what I could do there is I could set up some of these before things.
Okay.
And I ended also, so I put a set tags thing there. Not necessarily. I'd like to call it set meta tags, but then I would worry that it would conflict. The namespace would conflict with this one. So anyway, I've gone with set tags there. And then I also pulled out another before action, and this is kind of unrelated to the SEO that you're doing, but it was kind of required in order to support this, and I ended up doing a little bit of refactoring and pulling it out of a few other methods there as well. So we now have this set organization method.
Okay, great.
So that was what was one thing there, and I think, I mean, Code Climate's now flagging this as a long method, but it's kind of, you know, it's just the way it's formatted, and that's, we can kind of ignore it there. So then here, now just looking at this difference, what I noticed is that I think, well, and John was asking about this, this was the kind of meta tags that we had originally, right? And we've now got this lovely gem doing it, which is fantastic. But I guess if it requires, in order for a given page to now display the meta tags, it requires the controller to have done this, right? Is that correct? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. That makes sense. Yes. I wasn't completely sure, I guess, why that came.
Okay, so that was why I asked if I could put some content on the site, because your landing page is your most important page.
Right.
one of your most
Indeed.
important pages for Google.
Mm-hmm.
So when so H1, most important title, so that matches up with my title tag. Plus, I've mentioned it in my first paragraph. So Google will take that page very seriously.
Right.
That's why that is there. If it doesn't there, then it just becomes a
Well,
feed.
that makes perfect sense.
And
go on.
And Google won't index it so quickly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So there should be links. There should, you know, in the paragraph, there should also be some links that should like link to wiki or other websites. That just creates credibility, but we can do that later on once we get more content or as it goes.
Yes. Oh, well, that makes perfect sense. I just seeing it, I was wondering, does that affect how the site actually displays? I'm just loading that thing there. So, oh, it's added it here. Right.
Yeah. So if you look, so if you look at the very top title tag, I can't see it because I've got this green thing.
Oh, let me move it down. Yes. Yeah.
And at the top. So if you look at your title tag, okay, right at the top there next to your radio.
Oh, yeah. This one. Yeah.
So that matches that title. If you now click on Harrow Gateway.
Harrow Gateway, like here.
Yeah, click on that.
Yes.
Okay, see what happens at the top?
Right.
So now
my
title tag at the top matches there and matches my H2 header, which is still great. And then whoever's put in the description, if you view source, you'll see that's used as the Google description. So so that's how it all works. So your first two things are the most important: is your title tag at the top and your heading.
Oh yes.
And then your description.
Yes, no, that's lovely. I mean, I hate sites like our own, which I think Agile Ventures is one of them. That if we're clicking around in Agile Ventures, I've got one. I think I've lost it. But that we like. So if I think if I click around in here, I don't know if actually let me go to some of them. There, if I look at the backlog there, actually we have got some coverage in there. Certainly some sites, I think we added that before. Certainly some sites.
I mean, your site is actually good because you've got your breadcrumbs there.
Right.
I mean, I'll look at that site when you add me to that project, but we just need to. That's why I would like to add a breadcrumb to this site because that even makes it more SEO friendly.
Yes.
For Google.
Yes, indeed. Yes. The no, I think having the it's like, and we've got several here that they're non-distinct, and like as you say, yes. So that's totally desirable. How Gateway again there. I love that those all match. Yes, I guess that the only thing that I'm thinking there is that that this is using up space where we've got this here and here. But I guess actually for people who are first landing on the site,
but you see that's an image. It's an image at the top, so Google can't read that. Right.
Yes, and I guess this is. I mean, I think there are people who will totally miss this, and I guess this is is going to perhaps make it more obvious to the overall our new users what the site is about. Because otherwise they just see the map and so on. Okay, cool. Well, I think that's excellent.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great.
So now it doesn't work on volunteers because if you remember I posted a week back that on the channel that for some reason I would need to work in the volunteers controller.
Yes, you would.
Applications controller to get it working. But when I tried it, it didn't like it. But we said we'd open a new feature for that.
Yes. So yeah, absolutely. One step at a time. Okay. Yeah, no, that's great. I went in here in the feature and I just I sort of simplified the feature name slightly. Great. And I know you were mentioning that they obviously want good Harrow volunteering SEO, but partly on that thing is almost I think we can have that would be like a separate scenario that would address specifically the volunteers within the bigger overarching feature, which is just SEO in general. And I think that makes that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Perfect. Makes sense. And then from Roll's side, yeah, that was just like I was testing the wrong stuff. So
Yeah, well, and it's kind of, well, the interesting thing is that actually hard coding it in the first instance is a good thing in the first case. It's a good initial step. And actually, as regards these tests, I think you're only using these steps once. So, you know, they could be hard coded. Of course, the danger is if you do have that variability and then you don't use it, someone in future might miss the fact that it was hard coded. So, yeah, it's a good thing to be aware of. I mean, it's just an additional step, and I went in and did that for you just as I was thinking about it. The big thing that I do notice though is that as a result of this change, while we now, I mean, I absolutely love that we now have, like as you were describing there, this matching thing for the name here and the title there and so on. I think now though, if we're on any other page, then we've kind of lost all of the meta tags from any other page.
Well, not really. What's your okay? So
I might be wrong. Go on.
Yeah. So what it does is it defaults to Haro Community. So it always defaulted to Haro Community. It didn't change. Didn't matter what page you were on. It stuck. So it will default to Haro if you're on their about page or.
Yes. Yeah. So here.
Yeah. So if so it will just default to Haro Community Network. If you scroll down to the bottom of the site of the actual page itself, okay, that's fine. For some reason on my local host, I was seeing a custom 404. I don't know why. At the bottom of my page, I was seeing that for some reason.
Well, you might want to check for local changes. I guess before we can look at that in more detail. I guess before we focus on that, I'll just so what I can see here when I'm looking at an arbitrary page is I can see at the moment it's giving me meta name, application name. It's got a type. I mean, independently of that. But so, for example, correct me if I'm wrong. Before we made these changes, if I'd gone to the disclaimer page, because this is the application.html ERB layout, we would have had all of these OG properties in this page. Is that not right?
Well, that OG property has been moved into
the organizations.
Into the organizations, yeah.
Right, but that means that that they only now appear on pages with organizations, and it won't appear anywhere else.
So I need to update that on the page. Is there a page controller?
Well, so yes, that's the thing. I mean, and in fact, as I mentioned in the thing there, in some ways, what we failed to have, and this is our bad, we don't have any test that checks that these things should appear on every page. I mean, I'm actually, from an SEO point of view, I don't know if it makes sense to have these things appear on this disclaimer page. I'm just thinking about the site as it was before and the changes there. So I guess the fix for that, in principle, would be, we go back to the organizations controller, is that we would sort of have it almost requires, like, the way I would be tempted to do it would be to have in the application controller, but if we just go over, in the application controller, I would almost be tempted to have here a set tags thing here.
Yeah.
And then I would take from the organizations controller that in the first instance, and I would stick that in potentially in there. And then obviously I wouldn't use organization. I'd do whatever was appropriate, but that we'd have so that the parent class would have a kind of a default set tags thing that would, gone the wrong way. Wrong again. Oh no. I wanted to go back to the and so that whatever would go in here would be the stuff from the layout view. Well, that we used to have in there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Cool. Should we look at you? You say you got a weird 404 thing there. Should we? Does that? Is that worrying? Should we look at that?
I don't know why I've got it, because I see on your local host you don't have it, but in the bottom right corner, for some reason.
I'm trying to. I'm looking at your screen. Where are you? Bottom right. You're seeing. Okay. Yeah. Unfortunately, the like the little square view of my own screen and of your screen is preventing me. If you just reduce the size of the browser window slightly, I would be able to see the it's still underneath your, but I think I know what you mean, is that in the list of pages that we've got there, there's like a 404 one, and I think that must be related to the way the seeds.rb file is set up at the moment. You know, I've probably got a clone of the production database on my local system, but you've probably run the seeds file, and that probably reflects, does it create that file? Can't see 404 in the seeds file. It may be pulling it in from somewhere else, but that actually, you could open that up as a little bug in the pivotal tracker icebox of you know, the pages. Actually, Marowen is just doing a similar thing for the website one, because there's like the static pages that have been set up in production probably should be mirrored in the seeds file in both projects, so that when new developers get set up, they have the same sorts of things as on the production system. So yeah, good catch there. Yeah, please do feel free to pop an error report into what's it called, Pivotal Tracker.
Pivotal Tracker. Okay, great. I'll do that. All right. So I will do that setting up of the controller as you suggested, just to get the other tags going.
Well, and what I would say there is, I mean, I guess in the ideal world, we would have that wrapped in tests, but I wouldn't say that that's necessarily your responsibility, because what you've exposed here is our failure to have tests checking that the site behaves in some way. So I think, you know, this is a really interesting point here, where, you know, you're contributing to a new project. There's obviously a big legacy code base, and you've discovered a flaw in our code and the way it's working. And so, since we don't have any tests there, I mean, I think you could also argue, well, if you don't have tests for it, you know, that's not something, you know, explicitly, you haven't recorded the fact that it's been requested by the customer, and so it's not my job to do that. So I think, you know, particularly it comes down to a little bit, is if removing those tags from the other pages would hurt us, particularly in the short term. I mean, assuming that we carry on working on this and we're going to gradually add the meta tags into the other pages, maybe it doesn't matter. And so it's this thing of sort of the Occam's razor of what's the really simplest thing we can do here. You know, that could be, you could instead there, you could open a new ticket and you could say, look, we've got, you know, we need meta tags on all the other pages for SEO. That should have tests on it, guys. And we're like, you're right, Lara. That's us. We screw up. You know, we totally need those. And then that could be the subject of other pull requests. And that allows you to kind of close out your existing pull requests more quickly, and then it gets into the code base and everybody builds on top of it. And almost that's possibly the highest priority. But does that make any sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, no, that's great. I think that's a good way to go.
Cool. Excellent. Well, very, very pleased that we were able to sync up, and big kudos for you for, you know, it's a, I mean, there are bigger code bases, but it's an intimidating legacy code base. And I think, you know, you've just been programming for 4 or 5 months, and you know, you're doing a fantastic job, and looking forward to you know, getting this pull request merged in, getting you on the contributors page, and continuing to work with you.
Great, thanks, Sam.
Nice one.
Enjoyed it a lot.
Good stuff. All right.
Great.
Well, I'll be on Slack and around, you know, today, tomorrow, and the rest of the week, and yeah, just shout out if you need any help.
I will do. Thanks very much.
All right.
Ciao for now.
Bye for now.